Hi everyone, I'm Mims, and I'm super excited because I have a new deck. It's probably not new to you, but it's new to me, and I'm super excited to finally add it into my collection. And yes, I know I need to pull out a thesaurus, because I feel like I say excited 10 times in 2 minutes whenever I have a new deck and I make an unboxing or flip through video. Anyway, we're going to chat about the Wild Unknown Tarot. It was on sale and I just felt like, okay, I'm finally ready to add this in. I think originally, I think the indie one came out in 2012, and then I think it was first published mass market in 2016. So this is by Krans, and I'm sure that if you're already familiar with it, you're probably not even watching this video. But one of the things that I love about tarot and books of any kind is that I am often not coming to newly published things. Once in a while there might be, especially if it's an author that I already love, whom I already love, or a deck creator, occasionally I will pay attention to new releases, but I'm definitely not usually paying attention to new releases before they're released. And in the case of tarot, I didn't start reading tarot till 2015, so it would have been, well after this was already a phenomenon. And then I just don't pay attention. Decks come to me when they come to me, and I'm definitely probably more both in terms of I definitely have an interest in indie decks, and I love indie creators and so forth. But sometimes, due to budget or just finding things, I do have a lot of mass market decks. So while this is not new to anybody, it may be new to you, and you may be like me, or you've known about it maybe for a little while, but I just felt like it was sort of like, I think I'm ready to dive into this one, and it went on sale, and so I was super excited. So I did go ahead and take the plastic wrap off, but that's it. So it has the sleeve, and then it's this magnetic box, and I actually have a couple of Krans' Oracle decks. I have the pocket, oh my goodness, what are they called? Animal Archetypes, Wild Unknown Animal Spirit. Let's see if it says. Okay, I don't know. I have two of the Oracle decks, but I have the pocket versions because when I got them, I knew that I could get either one deck or I could get both of the mini versions, and so I did. So one is Archetypes, and then I think the other one is like Animal Spirit, and I'm probably wrong in the name. But anyway, I have those two and I quite enjoy them. And I have been working with those for a while, so I kind of felt like I was ready to get into this one. So the way this one comes, so you have this sleeve, and then you have this magnetic box, and then you have, there's the book. There's a lot of packaging in this one, but it's pretty. And then there's a separate little box for the deck. So what I think I'm going to probably do is put this with some of the other bigger boxes on a separate shelf and then just work with it this way. Okay. So what I thought we would do is I'm just going to go through this deck as if you've never seen it before, because I'm guessing if you're watching, you either haven't, or maybe you are somehow interested in what I have to say about it. I don't know. Or it's new to you. And so then this is the little box for the deck. So what I thought we could do then is flip through the deck. We'll look at all of the cards, and then we'll do a one card pull at the end, and we'll check out the guidebook. But first I wanted to check out the guidebook. Got that skin for the back. And yeah, 2012 and 2016. So I thought that was right. And it talks a little bit about drawing the deck. Oh, I like this. I've been drawing with intense detail since a young age. It's the single thing that brings me absolute focus and clarity of the mind. It's been rumored that I can draw a perfect circle while riding a horse. I'll leave that to myth. But I will say I don't use rulers or tools of any kind. It's simply that when I draw, my mind and hand are steady, clear, accurate. And I think she has both a degree, or they, I'm not sure. I think pronoun, I don't know about pronouns. But I do know that I remember reading about her, and I think she has a degree in art and then also in psychology, which I remember thinking that that was kind of an interesting perspective for creating, you know, tarot and oracle decks. And I'm quite interested in drawing. There's a book called Drawing from the Left Side of the Brain, or from the right side. I always get the hemispheres backwards. Anyway, there's a book called Drawing from the blah 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 side of the brain that a coworker a few years ago recommended to me. And I'm interested. I have it, but it's in storage right now, just due to my current living situation. And I'm thinking about getting it, either pulling it out of storage if I can, or picking up the book and then, you know, when I later get to storage, find that other book and, like, you know, give it to someone or sell it or whatever. But I am interested. I've never been really interested in drawing, but I kind of feel like I am interested. I tried coloring a few months ago and realized that that was not the thing for me. But I am interested in drawing kind of from that standpoint of, like, just learning a little bit more and maybe even just watching some YouTube videos. I know that when you draw, particularly if you think you can't draw, people have talked about that it does help you to learn to see things. And I remember back in college taking a field biology class, and one of the things that we did was we kept a notebook, and we were drawing partly so that we were paying attention as like an extra tool for identification purposes. And I'm old enough to be it's funny to think about that now, but, like, I'm old enough to live in the world where people didn't have cell phones or cameras with them all the time, and definitely maybe even before, like, digital cameras were a thing. You know, whereas now I can imagine, like, a field biology class might be like, okay, everybody pull out your phone and take a photo of, you know, whatever that might be. But anyway, there's still something to that learning of observation and that mindfulness. So this book makes me really think about that. Anyway, just even that little intro just made me think of that little sidestep. And here she says, I quickly noticed that the realm of tarot is a confusing and intimidating place. There are a lot of contradicting voices out there about how to use the cards and what they mean. So much that at several points I almost gave up drawing the deck. I felt as though I couldn't do it. You'll probably come up against these feelings too as you start to give readings to yourself and to others. Doubts, fears, I can't do this, I don't know enough. Well, here's the thing. You do know enough. You've been a person on earth every day since you were born. You've experienced all the emotions and situations these cards depict. Quiet the naysayer. Don't let it prevent you from sitting down with a friend or yourself and using these cards to help talk about what's going on in your life. It will be positive. It will be radical. You'll find things start to reveal themselves through the cards that have been hidden away, covered with dust. May these cards bring you moments of peace and steadiness. I would be so honored. So understanding the deck. So it's a pretty simple little guidebook, which I love. A little bit about Wands, Swords, Cups, and Pentacles, and the Court cards. And then reading the cards, getting readings. If you hope to become a gifted tarot reader, the first step is to have your own cards read regularly. I like that. And then what to ask. And then talking about shuffling and cutting the cards, a card a day, past, present, future, shows the Celtic cross spread, a clarity spread, which is with the 4 cards. And then we get right into it. So it starts with the mind. Okay, it starts with the Wands, and then it gets to the majors at the end. But what I love, and I've said this before, and I'm sure others have said this too, I love when the minor cards, so the minor arcana being suit cards, the aces, cups, pentacles, and discs, or aces, swords, pentacles, and cups, or, you know, versions thereof. I love when they get as much attention. So each of you've got a full illustration of the card, and then you have a bit of the meaning, and, you know, a couple of the keywords. But we're looking at like a couple paragraphs at most, all the way through, which I love that. Okay, let's get into it. I'm excited. I feel like I'm ready to use this deck, and I had kind of been intimidated by it, and it feels like it's one of those decks that a lot of people have opinions about. I think because it was and has been so popular. So again, I know there's multiple versions of this, but I'm really excited about this. So again, those are the backs, and we've got, yeah, we'll just go all the way through. I love how it's black and white with these spots of color. And I love how there aren't any people in it. And I've heard people talk about, you know, just having watched TarotTube now over the last couple of years, I've heard people talk about that this is not an animal deck, or that it is an animal deck. And I think I don't like to be prescriptive in my thing. I don't remember who I heard say that, and I remember thinking, I think it's whatever you need or want it to be. I love all these roots and these trees. I love how you have the sun and the moon there. And I love how those almost look like, I know they're broken cups, but I feel like they look like flowers. Almost look like tulips. Yeah. This is, I love the drawing. Excuse me. I love how simple these are, and yet how complex they are. I love this artwork. I've really enjoyed, and I'm really glad that I had the chance to pick up both of those. There's still another deck of hers, which is the alchemical oracles. As far as I know, she has this tarot deck, and then the 3 oracles. The animal spirit, and then the archetypes, and then the alchemical deck. And I really have enjoyed working with those. And I like her approach. And I definitely remember someone, I was talking to somebody, and they said one of the reasons that they really liked this deck is that there weren't people in it, but that it didn't necessarily feel like that it was just like a cuddly animal deck. And I've heard other people talk about how sometimes an animal deck, whatever you call an animal deck. Like, I definitely think this is different than, oh, what's the new tarot by Jessica Rue, or newish? She's had the Forest, is it Forest Guardians? That's not right. What? I don't know what my deal is with names today. But anyway, this definitely isn't like a warm and cuddly kind of an animal deck. But I remember someone talking about how this makes space. You know, you're not then so caught up in, you know, like what the people look like. And that we can connect to animals sometimes in another way. You know, that it opens up. You know, when you're looking at the Emperor and you're looking at a tree, rather than some dude, you know, sitting on a throne. Or that the Hierophant, is that a raven? With the key? You know, that we can recognize more of that emotion or that feeling rather than you know, being caught up in like, oh, I don't identify with that. And I feel like I remember I just watched and it was actually a video from several months ago, but I remember watching a video from Tom Benjamin and he always makes me laugh. And there's always something in his, not that he's always humorous, I don't mean it that way, but he always makes me think and he always makes me laugh, which is kind of the best of both because it feels like sometimes the humor is how I remember things that he says. But I remember him talking about, he says, and I don't think he was specifically, I think he was talking about other decks, but he was talking about how like, okay, the hanged person or the hanged man is someone who is upside down. So he was saying bats are always upside down when they're in this case. So he said, why do people have the bats for the hanged? You know, because this is their sort of normal. He said, like, if the bat was upright, that would be more of a thing. And I just remember thinking about that, like, oh yeah, that's right. Anyway, just as an aside, I think that's a crane. But again, it doesn't, you know, we've got the devil. Is that the goat? Yeah. And then I know that over time some of the cards have changed. I love these tree cards though. Sorry, I'm looking at the tree. I love that moon. I'm really glad to have this. And I love that this has made its way into my library. I've been intrigued by it for a long time. And I don't know if I was either just not ready or unsure, or maybe because so many people have talked about it, that I finally, you know, I sometimes miss the days when I wasn't on TarotTube. And I don't mean, like, I absolutely enjoy making videos, and I absolutely enjoy hearing people talk about different decks and their favorites and so forth. Like, one of my favorite decks I came across because someone else reviewed it. They were doing like a flip through, and everything that they were talking about that they didn't like about the deck were the very reasons that I loved about it. And it doesn't matter what the deck is, but I remember like sometimes like, oh, that's right, that was helpful. You know, she was pointing things out that she didn't like, but it helped me to then realize like, oh, I love that she's pointing that out, because what she's pointing out is the very reason that I love it. you know? And so anyway, sometimes though, I miss the days of like just going into a tarot shop and not knowing. That's how I used to find decks, you know, was going into a tarot shop and then looking and finding things. Although luckily there's still always, you know, decks, and like there's always still something new. And I love like used decks for that reason. Sometimes you just go and find something old. And I realize now that a lot of the time, that's why sometimes it does help to like come to something. I haven't seen a video about this in a long time. So, and I also realize that whether I let that affect me, that's my choice, right? About someone's like or dislike of a deck. So anyway, let's just see what the deck has to say to us. What do we need to know today? What do we need to know today? And I guess I could talk a little bit. I didn't bring... Yeah, do I have? No. So, card size, they're probably, if they're not exactly tarot, and I can kind of tell just by my hand, they're roughly tarot card size. They might, I feel like, yeah, they're pretty close to typical tarot size. If they're not maybe a tiny bit, yeah, I think they're about right. Not about right, like that's right or wrong, but yeah, they're about typical tarot card size. And they are, again, this is the mass market one, kind of matte, but they're slick. So not matte, and they bounce back pretty well. And there's, you know, there's a little bit of shine to them that so they're not super smooth, but they do have a glide to them, we'll put it that way. Okay, so what do you have to tell us today? What message do you have for us today? They feel really good. We got 6 of Wands. And I know what I think of that card, but let's just go right to the guidebook. Victory, success, rising up. From the dark and tangled branches emerges a butterfly. New life takes flight. If you're not reveling in the joy of success already, you will be soon. The 6 of Wands is a card of victory, of rising up against the odds. The obstacles have been relentless, but now is not the time to look back upon them. The more pressing question is, where will you go with your new set of wings? I love that. So no matter where you are, take those small victories or big victories, whatever they are. And there are points where it is important to like look back and reflect and consider that. But right now, think about moving forward. And what does that look like for you? What's that next step? It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be the fool's leap off the cliff. But what is your next step? If that resonates for you, I'm so glad. And if it doesn't, just leave it behind. But if it doesn't, see if you can find that small victory that's right there. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope you are finding joy. I hope you are finding ways to take care of yourself. I hope you're finding ways to take care of others on the earth in a mutual aid way. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Thanks so much. And do you have this deck? Do you like it? Have you ever come across a deck that maybe lots of people either loved or hated? Or you find your own time with the deck too? Maybe it's even coming back to a deck that's been on your shelf for a long time and you're ready to now use it, or something else. I would love to hear. Thanks so much and take care.